Matt Sauerbay is a headline act in his own right. He's a national youth poetry slam champion. He's performed at the Poetry Society. He's performed at the Houses of Parliament. He's run a one-man show. He's runs poetry workshops. I could go on about Matt for ages. He's one of my favourite poets. I read recently with him. He made me cry. This was very awkward for me because I had to read after him. You're going to love Matt. I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you very much. I don't know who saw that. The call just kicked me out because my Wi-Fi is terrible, but I'm hoping it's all right now. I'm going to stand up because I don't get to do that very often these days, and I thought I'd treat myself. Are the poems up on the screen? Are we ready to go?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So this first one is called Tea, and it goes like this. We sit opposite each other in your kitchen with our mugs of dry leaves, water and warmth and pause. These mugs hold us steadier than we can hold them. You hold my gaze steadier than I can hold yours. Hold my hand. The steam from the kettle reminds us how our heart is only a tiny exhale away from our hearth, which when lit is a promise that we are only 2 minutes from our first tentative sips. Your mugs do not match. They are a mixture of memories and gifts like you. There are breaths we have held so long, our hearts are being crushed by our lungs. I count the things that make me feel like this. Climbing a tree, real snow, discovering a new meaning in a word I thought I knew. None of that feels possible today, but this does. You are home. We are whole. This is hope. It's to these simple rituals we hold on and on. You carry your mug with both hands to say you are trying to be careful, but your eyes are promises of tip, drop, trickle, seep. Across the table, you begin to show me how to spill. Thank you. This next poem is a Cescena. I go to a lot of poetry events where people throw around words like Cescena as if everyone knows what it is. And I feel like that's a big barrier to, well, I think it's a big part of the reason why poetry is kind of as niche and exclusive as it is at the moment. So I'm just very briefly going to say what it is. You'll notice that the end words of the first stanza, the first 6 lines are dead, earth, here, place, echo, and pan. And you might notice that in every subsequent stanza, every subsequent set of 6 lines, those are still the end words, but in a different order. And then there's like this half stanza at the end of 3 lines, still a stanza, but 3 lines is a smaller stanza at the end where it just crams all those words together. And it's about climate change, really. It's called Goat Song. Scientists report that the god of the wild is dead. Our last hope for singing the ocean back to sleep. And now Earth is tilting, spiraling here and then here. Borders collapse. We learn our place, reading history in the air like an echo. America cascades into the Pacific. We call his name. Pan. No answer. I want you to panic, sings someone. We question if the god was dead before we were even born. His last scream echoes in the mouths of every kid left holding the earth, left placeless by all that has taken place. Now, Pan has come to mean all, and we huddle to hear each other screaming that we are still here. To remind ourselves how to panic, we build stages in the street for the displaced. We make politics performative. We act activism. We play dead and call it practice. We excavate air until we unearth his song, all echo. Here are the roots of some words. House in Greek is oikos, as in eco. Choking in Latin is angere, as in anxiety. We hear the gasps of a house filling with smoke, our earth. We worry how to conserve change, sustain panic without burning out. The movement is not dead, it can't be. There is no time for it to be replaced. During storms, the roots of words hold me in place. Each blast is a sublime tragedy. Note how ideas echo through language. Tragedy, tragigadoya, goat song, song of the requisite dead. The roots are my audience. This is a song of Pan. Nothing is more radical, radicalist root than to hear. This is the satire of the state, the poetry of creation, the song of the earth. I could stay up here and watch the earth set, but I come home and feel myself placed. Everywhere I look, I feel the presence of Pan. There are spirits in the trees, an echo, or the reflection of a Narcissus still here. The birds return. I wonder if I am dead, or if the earth is nothing but its own echo, a resting place. Here it lies. Is the great god Pan dead? Thank you. I'm going to do one more very quick one because I know time is short. Another climate one. This is called Lullaby. Hush, baby, go to sleep. Our planet's dying, but you cannot know that just yet. I will protect you the rest of my life as I have since the day that we met. Everything's different now. You're in the world, whatever the future may bring. I would burn rainforests to keep you warm. Silence the birds if they sing. I have found hope in the glow in your eyes, my constant whatever may change. Hush, baby, so what? The planet is dying. Maybe you'll save us one day. Thank you very much. I'm Matt Sauerby.
Absolutely extraordinary, Matt. I make people love me by saying that Matt wasn't going to read that last poem because he thought maybe he hadn't got time. And in the green room, we all insisted that he read it. That's an extraordinary poem. Thank you so much for that extraordinary reading. Now, here's where I get progressively kind of queasier with excitement. I'm going to introduce Fiona Benson. It's really hard to know how to do that. We'll start with Bright Travellers, published in 2014 by Cape, that received the Cescena Prize for First Collection, the Geoffrey Faber Memorial Prize, and we'll move to Vertigo and Ghost, published 2019 by Cape. Sorry, my next door neighbour's just chosen this moment to start banging on the wall. Maybe because they've read Vertigo and Ghost, and like me, they were absolutely gut punched. The sequence of poems about Zeus as an abuser and another sequence of poems about domestic life. It won the Forward Prize for Best Collection 2019, shortlisted for the T.S. Eliot. It won the Roehampton Poetry Prize. Fiona's currently working on a project about the lives of insects, which kind of for a moment sounded like a world away. And then I read the poems. I've just recently used some of Fiona's poems in a project that I was running with survivors of rape and sexual abuse. And it feels like everything that comes out Fiona's pen, it's kind of poetry that kind of changes lives and saves lives. And whether she's writing about wasps or bees or ants or Zeus, I couldn't be more excited than to welcome Fiona Benson to the Zoom stage.
Thank you. That's Claire, that was so kind of you. That's going to be impossible to live up to. Yeah, I'm really moved. Thank you, Claire. And congratulations to Matthew for that phenomenal reading. Matt, that was amazing. I love your tea across the table. You begin to show me how to spill. That's just so beautiful. They're beautiful poems. And thank you so much to Kim and Claire for making this brilliant festival happen. It's so lovely to be here in the midst of so much isolation. You know, we all miss our poetry community so much and miss hanging out with each other and talking shop. And it's so lovely to be here. And this community you're creating is just really special and so lovely how much you're involving the young poets of Dove Cottage and so on. I think that's just incredible, although they are ferociously talented and I am very frightened. They'll be after my job. In fact, I think they're already doing my job. So I'm going to start with a couple of new poems. So as Claire said, I've been working on some insect poems as part of a commission from Arts and Culture at the University of Exeter. So I'm going to read one of these, which is about mosquitoes. Mosquitoes were my real stumbling block to this project because I really hate them, and because one in particular, Anopheles gambia, is responsible for the spread of malaria, which is one of the biggest killers, but one of the biggest child killers in the world. So I wrote this poem. Mosquitoes, Mozambique. How we collectively itch under their collective wine. All night insects thicken round the clinic's outdoor light. In the malaria ward, the beds are pushed so close, the sleepers share the same bad dream. A female mosquito filling her soft bulb, dipping her beak for a drop of blood to ripen her eggs. How her abdomen's rosé flush deepens to ruby as she siphons out water as waste. The sleepers parch. Over at the NGO dorm, we swap mosquito law like cards. They become accustomed to, or are indifferent to, or possibly mock citronella. They'll find a way in. Even the smallest tear in a mosquito net is an open door, and your body is a welcome mat on which they wipe their feet before inserting a straw. They use 2 serrated needles to cut through your tissues, 2 needles to hold the flesh apart, 1 to insert a chemical spit to keep your blood running, and a proboscis to home in to suck. Their eyesight's alleged to be poor. They see you better when you move and are attracted to blondes and restless sleepers. They smell your breath. Some of us smell sweeter. One of their chosen ones, I verge on paranoia. Long sleeves, trousers tucked into socks after dark, a cotton scarf to protect the back of my neck. My lips tingle with DEET. If I lick them, my tongue bitters and numbs. I brush at my face obsessively, keep my feet tucked under me and chafe. I'm not the only one. Out on the veranda, the Dutch intern swipes an electric racket through the air. Every time it intercepts an insect, it makes an exaggerated buzz. It pleases him to hear them frizz, to imagine their bodies forked in hot blue light as they electrocute and spasm. Like DEET, his bat is indiscriminate and zaps fruit flies, crane flies, moths, beetles on the wing. Think of insecticide sprayed over cities from planes, falling mist fine over ditches, a soft, particulate rain. The sweltering night suddenly quiet in the city park. The frogs' pale bellies moonside up, snakes like sloppy inner tubes rotting in the grass. And think of Honesty's daughter hallucinating in bed as Honesty loosens her cornrows with trembling fingers and sings to her in undertones collapsed by her own uneven breath. The nearest clinic hours away on broken roads. The malaria swells and burns till her girl arches from her pallet bed and drums her heels, her eyes roll back in her head, raised beyond and gone. Though her mother tries to call her home, daughter, baby girl. It makes me sick to write this, is if I make it happen, but every 2 minutes a child. Survivors sway in the open bed of the hired trucks, ululating and screaming as they rattle to the burial ground. Meanwhile, Imo Hansen, merciful professor, inserts his naked wrist through the sleeved net tunnel of a mosquito incubator, a special iridescent species, and suffers them to feed, keep steady despite the itch, because these rainforest jewels might have secrets to tell. And in London, a woman splices a mosquito egg to corrupt the gene that defines male sex. There will be infertile males, and in 8 generations, a matter of days, the brood will collapse. Still, my architect friend on the Ilias sleeps in one bed with his Mozambican wife and sons. He jolts awake every few minutes to check that his wife and boy's beloved flesh isn't touching the net or near the net or within arm's length of the net where he imagines a mosquito might intrude its fine needle. Again and again, he shuffles them in till they sleep in a riddled heap at the center of the bed, swimming in the vast margins of his terror. I don't have children yet, though I have miscarried, and hold myself like a crystal glass full to the brim, afraid to spill, afraid to harm a single ovum. When I'm feverish, I take myself to the hospital and queue to have my finger pricked in the whitewashed clinic. Hundreds of mothers mill outside the slow pharmacy. Pills are passed at intervals through a metal grill. Babies are weighed on clock-faced scales, suspended from the ceiling, lain in dangling knotted slings. The way in old cartoons, newborns are brought in bundles, hanging from a stork's beak, the longed-for gift. The man driven insane by dysentery, turmeric yellow shit dribbling down his leg, stirs in the hospital garbage with a stick and won't let anyone come near. My name is called. I've tested negative and can go. I walk, shaking with relief and fever, back to the dorm, back through aircon buses and airports and planes, back to my privileged Northern Isle, in which my babies will be inoculated against most ills, and God willing, inshallah, whatever it takes, I will live, I will give, will live. Sorry, I'll try that last 2 lines again. And God willing, inshallah, whatever it takes, I will give, will live. I do not deserve this life. Sorry, I'm caught between reading on the screen and reading on my paper. It's a whole new Zoom world. I'm sorry for that glitch at the end. Yeah, I think it's been really eye-opening seeing how quickly we have reacted to our current virus in comparison to how slow we have been to find treatments for things like malaria. I think it's a rather horrible demonstration of the racism of our world. I'm going to read something a bit lighter now. My parents are in the audience today, so for this next one, I'm suggesting they just leave the room for a bit. What do you think, Mum and Dad? You want to go get a cup of tea? I think so. I think it's a good idea. Do you think they've gone? Right, let's try this one. So this is a new one as well. It's called Boarding School Crush 17 Wonderwall. We were 17 and had our song. We'd sing it to each other loudly or slide across the lino in our socks because we were just kids and silly with revision, but also learning to be women. Once, We were in her room confessing masturbation, a word I hated, though touching ourselves sounded fey. And I'd walked to the sink to show her the mini Body Shop bottles I tried inserting, wanting so badly to know how it felt. And we were both laughing. And was it then, in that spirit of mutual arousal and confidence, she raised her pajama top to show me her breasts? Worried her nipples were abnormally big, she showed me. God, they were beautiful, like rising suns, each soft, blunt mouthful, their gorgeous rose aureoles hardening under my gaze, cinching in. I was so exquisitely turned on. Remember still the terrible effort to raise my eyes to hers and keep them lifted. And I think I saw it there, that same dilation and urge to fuck. I wanted her breasts in my mouth, but was afraid she'd push me away, appalled that everyone would learn of my deviance, that my difficult equilibrium in this dangerous world of girls would founder, and I would be shunned, soiled, leprous to them all. So here she was, showing me her breasts. She wanted to know they were beautiful. I think she wanted me to touch, and I wanted to take them in my mouth, that breathing, milky softness, their dreaming nipples, rose and mallow. Even now I want them more, would fall on my knees on that cold linoleum and push into the warm and secret wets of her and tongue deep until she raptured and came while I held those brimming weights in my palms. But I did no such thing. I said they looked normal and walked away. And she told everyone about my experiments with bottles, and I was shamed. Even now, I wish I'd lifted my own top in mutual trust and shown her my own slight breasts, the wine-dark knots of my nipples. We were standing so close, touch would have been inevitable, and then inevitable, the wild and shivering surrender. Even now, I wonder at her blazing beauty and the bravery of her invitation, and I bowed down to her courage as to a queen. Claire kindly mentioned the Zeus section, which is the first section in Vertigo and Ghost. It does deal with sensitive topics. It deals with domestic abuse and rape. So if that's going to be triggering, I just want to give you a heads up that that's what I'm reading about. So I'm just going to read 3 poems from these. Yeah, I'll just read you the sequence. Zeus. Days I talked with Zeus. I ate only ice. Felt the blood trouble and burn under my skin. Found blisters on the soft parts of my body. Bulletproof glass and a speakerphone between us, and still I wasn't safe. Thunder moved in my brain, tissue crease, hemorrhage. I kept the dictaphone running. It recorded nothing but my own voice, vulcanized and screaming, "You won't get away with this." Zeus anatomical dolls. It's hard to explain. Let me show you with the anatomical dolls. They have buttons for eyes and details under their pants you wouldn't believe. Look underneath at the girl's folded labia, vagina, the tucked in silk and string umbilical of a pull down poppet fetus, or the male's miniature penis, his cotton bag scrotum, his sphincter ringed in little puckered stitches. So the girl doll took off her frilly knickers, and the boy doll pushed down his trousers and did this. And you might think it was love if you hadn't seen Act 1. The male doll playing punch, Judy trembling and bruised, her bloody nose. Tell me, what's the word for this? This spreading of the legs and lips to delay violence. And where's the rough music, all my charivari pots and wooden spoons to out you, Zeus, to drive you through the streets with songs that find a name for you at last, you filthy pimp, you animal, you rapist. And lastly from this sequence, I'm going to read a transformation. This is one I don't read so often because it's kind of a quieter, more intimate transformation, I think. I think it might be more suited to Zoom than some of the others. So we'll give it a try. Transformation IO. CJD. Here is gift to the luminous one. IO. Groping down the corridors of the sanatorium, head swinging like a lantern, unsteady legs, like a sick calf in mud, unable to piece together words. Ma, she says, Ma. At feeding time, she turns from the spoon, tonguing it bluntly out of her mouth, self-starved. Here it comes. Her pupils dilate, her brain staggers and deviates down telescoping halls, protein form folds, spongiform. She is goaded and stung. God manifests in thickening air like a plague, like a locust swarm. He has his dick out. He will tear her with his slimy mouth. He will rip her apart. He is harm. She is smashing her head against the wall. She is screeching at demons. Doctors come running. She's buckled down, drugged calm. Her father weeps, is a river of grief. Her mother stands behind the reinforced glass and will not turn from her daughter's slackening face as it mouths some blurred message of violation, some plea to come home. Do not look for beauty, it is gone. Yet here's her father stroking her hair, her mother looking for a cure, witnessing, insisting on the gentlest care. See how tenacious they are, how truly humans love. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Fiona, what have you done? That was extraordinary. I don't know what to say. That was, I mean, we're seeing the feedback coming pouring in, and we will send these words to you because you should read what people are writing. It's all of a similar vein, and it's all about how mind-blowing and astonishing and stunning and powerful, wonderful your work is. It leaves me shaken. Thank you, Fiona.